Hello, thank you once again and welcome to my channel. In this video, we are going to continue working on the project that we did the other time. So this will be the third installment of the video. So let me show you what I've got. So if you saw this, the second installment, you are going to see that we use this code that we have here to provision a AWS server, an instance in AWS. So we provisioned it. We created a security groups, uh, both Ingress and Egress security groups. We also were able to remote to the server that we created using SSH. So as you can see, that's the security group that we created for it. But even though that the what we did worked very well, there is something that needs to be improved. So basically, when you look at this project, you will find that there is a lot of repetition in this code. As you can see, we have several security groups here, but there is a way we could kind of narrow it down and assign the security groups dynamically. The same thing is applicable to some of these files that we have here. For instance, here we have this provider. Somewhere else we have there is something else that we will need to also change. I think it's like the let me see what it was. Um, there is something else we are going to change. I think it is somewhere here. Let me see. I think it's here. We are going to also change this availability zone in order to assign it dynamically. So there are about 3 or 4 things that we need to do here. So without wasting your time, let's start right away. Um, First of all, we are going to create a new file. This new file, we are going to call it vars.ts. So we are going to create variables here like I already discussed. The first variable that we are going to create is, let's create, so usually you call it variable and then we give it a name. So we are going to create a variable that is going to contain our region. We create the variable and we should have a default. Oh, we have a default, and the default should be US East 1 East 1, US East 1. So you can use what default that you use that yours for within. So for me, that's the default that I think there is a mistake somewhere here. So this should be, wait, let me find it. The verse, it should be TF, not TS. So let me rename it to TS, sorry, TF. So that's what it should be. So now we have our variable for region. Let's also create a variable for zone. We create a variable for zone and we have a default, and the default should be just as what we already had, US East 1A. That's what we had before. So let us make use of these variables right away. So the way we do that is that we go back to, as you can see, we have a region here, right? So we go back to our provider. You see? So we are going to change this to, we have a variables here. So it's going to be, so here what we are going to have here is region. Region, yeah. Then variable dot region. That's what it should be. So we are going to do the same thing with this. Here, availability zone. Now we should have var dot zone. You see? So what this means that if we are going to have several zones, for example, or several regions, so we could just go into the variable file and just make our change there, so that the change will reflect all of the places that we have the value. So the next thing we need to create now are the security groups. Um, in order to do that, let us start to declare security, or the data that we are going to use to create our security groups. Let us first of all declare variables. Variable. Let's declare variables for security groups. And the next thing we need to do is just like the ones we created earlier, we could just say variable. So this will be, let us call this ingress rules. Let's call it ingress rules. After this, we are going to create the one we need for the egress. And we are going to also give it a description. And the description would be, let's say, all allowed rules. Also, if you want, you could also add a description to these ones. So description here, we could say our uh, our region. You could add also here description, availability zone. So you could just add it there also. So here we all have description. The next thing we need to do is to declare the type of the data that that this ingress is going to contain. So what we're going to describe here is let us use list object, and let's say object. As you can see, I already showed this in the previous two videos. So as you can see, this helps me to kind of easily pick, or kind of gives you like a direction or choose. So if you haven't done that, so you might want to go back here and make sure that you install this HashiCorp Terraform stuff here. So if you install it, it will be help you to complete whatever it is that you're trying to type. So now the next thing we need to do, the name would be, we are going to use, if you remember our previous security group that we created. So there we had like from port. If you remember, as you can see, we had like here from port to port, IP protocol, and so forth. So we are doing something a bit similar here. So here we are going to have our from port. So this is going to be number, which means like integer, right? We are also going to have to port. This will also be number. The next thing that we need is the protocol. Uh, protocol. Protocol. We can call it, this one is string. And the next thing that we need is cider. I don't know if you pronounce it cider or whatever. So, but it's like cider IVP4. So this one is going to be list of strings. Let's say string. So we should also have one for our IPv6. So it should also be list of strings. So these are the data type that we need in our security group. The next thing that we need to do now is to go down there and then create default data that we are going to need. So we go down there, and then the from port, we are going to have port 22. If you remember, we had it, which we used to connect remotely to the device that we provisioned. So we are going to have port 22. We are going to also have, let's say, to port 22. The next thing that we need is a protocol. The protocol for this is a string, right? So it's TCP. The next thing that we need is let us allow both what do you call it? Both IPv4 and IPv6. And let us also do the same for this. So this one is and 0. So that's what we need for this. The next thing that we need to do is we are going to create also one for the other port numbers. The other port number that we have is we have also port 80. So for this, we are going to just say from port 80 to, oh, I think there is wait, there should be, let me do this again. Yeah, that's it. So we should have from port 80 also to port 80. And this is just the same as what we already did. So we could just copy what we've got here and paste the same thing here. There is no difference. The next thing we need to do is, let's see if something is missing. The next thing we need to do is to do one for also port 443. We are going to also, we need one for port 443. There should be a comma here for port 443. And we just go on and change here to 443 and 443. Now that we have created all the codes that we need for our ingress, we are going to go on and create one for the egress. Let me copy this because it's going to be quite similar to what we already got there. I'm going to paste it here, and let's call this egress. We call this egress rules, and this we should call it egress rules, for example, to make it more easier to understand what we are doing. Egress rules here should also be ingress rules. So it's more understandable that way. We now have this. This is going to be easier actually, because if you think about it, here, in order to remote our to kind of connect our server, the server we hosted on AWS, we kind of allowed these ports and IPs, which, if you remember in the previous video, like I said, it's not usually typical to allow all these IP addresses. Normally, you need to allow something that you need to be more specific to what IP address that you want to use, and not allow just about everything. The next thing we need to do now that we've got this is that we are going to declare, because this is like for us to be able to connect to the outside world from the AWS environment. What we need to do here is we can connect to all port numbers, all IP addresses, and so forth. And what we need to do here is we can just declare from port. I think, wait. We should have default as we did earlier. So we have from port, this should be, we have 0 to port. We can also have 0. The next thing is protocol. As we did before, we could have -0, and this means all protocols. The next thing is the That is, we can allow all IPs or IPv4. Here we can allow all IPv6. Like I said, this one is very simple. In order to go out, we can just target any IP or any port number outside the world. And now, if you want to take a second look at our code or our variables, this is quite straightforward. I wanted to say that if you probably need more additional information, you could just search for developer _ Terraform input variable. We are going to read more about this here. This is quite almost the same as what I did, what we just accomplished now. As you can see here, you see we use type. Here, like I said, you could use a description. You could also use like type. You could also have type there, right? As you can see. So, but you could just look up here and find more information as to how this is used. Let's go back to our code, if I can find it. That's our code. The next thing that we need to do now is to go back to our security group and make some major changes there. And the changes that we are going to make is, first of all, let me save all these files. Here, this is our current security group. We are going to just let me comment everything out because we are going to need something entirely new. I'm going to comment it out and then just go down there and start to use our security group that we just, or the variables that we just created. And as usual, this should be resource, AWS security group. Let's give it a name. The name I'm going to give it now is security group. Let's call it security group. We could give it a name as usual. Security group. Description, we can give it a description. Our new security group. Now, we are going to, let us start with the Ingress security group. Ingress rules. We are going to use dynamic. Like I said, to understand this more, you can check the documentation that I just showed now, and we can just call it Ingress. And we are going to loop through this. We are going to use for each. We call our variable dot ingress dot ingress rules. That's what we called it, ingress rules. And the next thing that we need to do, content. Here we are going to look through and then list all the information that we have for our Ingress security group. So we can say from the name is Ingress dot value dot from. We can also to port the same Ingress dot value dot to port. The next thing that we need is a protocol. So just the same ingress dot value dot protocol. And for our IPv4, ingress dot value dot cider 4. The next one is for our IPv6. Dot value dot 6. Let's see, ingress dot value dot. Okay, this let us try IP. Let's see, say the blocks. Let's see. Oh, IPv6 block. Okay, ingress dot value dot IPv6 as you can see, this we have for our ingress. The next thing we need to do now is to create one for our egress. To do that, we can just do dynamic egress and obviously the same as what we've got here. So let me copy this and paste it there. Something is missing. Yeah, I know what's missing. Let me copy the entire thing. And or something is still missing. Let me check it. Yeah, I should copy including the for reach. Oh, look, wait a moment. I'm missing something here. So it should be dynamic. So this entire thing should be inside of that. Yeah, that's what it should look like. Now we've got all our the information that we need. So this is for our egress connection. That's it. The next thing that we need to do now is to go back to our, let me first of all save this, and then let's go back to our instance. We probably need to make some changes here. This is our instance, so let's check what we got here. We call this secgrp. Oh, I didn't mean to, I meant to copy secgrp. When we go there, it should be the same. This is very important. We should have the same thing there. Let's see. Oh, security group dot group dot should be that dot id. That's what it should be. Oh, that's what it should be. I believe this is all that we need. We needed to run our wait. Let's see. That's all we needed to redeploy our device. So the next thing we are going to do now is to initialize the code and apply it. Oh, I just realized, by the way, I forgot to change egress. This should be, oh, I forgot to give it a name, which is egress. And apologies, you can just change everything here because this is under egress. You just change everything here. Just change everything here. Once you change it, we are going to go on and apply our code. Let me go back to Let me find it. Here I am on my AWS. I've logged in. Let me check my EC2 instance. And to be sure, there is nothing there. As you can see at the moment, there is no instance here. What we are going to do is just to go on and initialize. Let's see what we've got. So we've got everything here. And let us Terraform. Let's first of all format our code. As you can see, I'm sure this code is not, which is not necessary anyway, but I always like to do this. Format, you see, it's better formatted now. And the next thing that we need to do is to initialize it. So it's initialized. Let's validate, just to make sure that everything is all right. It's successful. Finally, let us plan. So we got this error again, but not a big deal. We are going to fix it immediately. If you got the same error as I got, you see, if you got something similar, what you just need to do, go back to your AWS, and let me just open a different window. Just search for let's see. Just search for IAM, and under that, go on and create a user. Let's create a new user. If you don't have any user, I'm going to create a new user and give it admin as name. Next, attach policies. This is important. Choose attach policies, and the policy that we need to be able to do this is administrator access, to allow us to remote our AWS. Once you do that, just choose, oh, not that. I didn't mean to go there. Let's see. Just be sure to choose this, and then next, and here, and create. Now I have my admin as a username. Click on that username and create access key. Choose the first option, command line interface, because that's what we are trying to use. And go there. I understand. Next, you can give it description if you wish. Otherwise, just go on and create. Now, this is the information we need. Just keep yours safely, or if you are going to delete it right away after the tutorial, because that's what I do. I'm going to copy this access key and go back to my terminal. Let me clear this clean. Here, just AWS configure. We're going to use that access key and security key. Just paste the access key here as it demands. Go back and copy the secret key. Here it needs the secret key. So keep yours safely. The next thing is asking us our region. So my region is US East 1. The default output format, JSON, and that's it. We are going to go back and run our script again. Let us plan. I believe this should fix the issue. Right. As you can see, these are all the resources we are going to apply, as you can see. So it's quite a lot. Just go through them if you want and read them. As you can see, we have keeper, we have security group, we have a whole lot of stuff here. So there are 3 items to be added, nothing to change, and nothing to destroy. Do you want to proceed? So let us apply. Let's apply. So it's showing us what is going to be applied. As if you remember, the plus means the things that are going to be applied. If you saw minus, it will mean that you're removing stuff. Now, because this is correct, this is right, I'm going to say yes. It will take a couple of seconds to apply our code. This sometimes take a couple of seconds, might take a minute. That's it. So we have applied our code. Let's go back to our AWS. So, as you can see, our instance is created. We can just, let's go on and click on it. We can check all the things that come with it. So you can see all the normal stuff that should come with a newly created instance. We've got the private IP, we got the public IP instance, and the whole other things. And what we can do, let us just go to security. So here you can see like the inbound rules and the outbound rules that we created, as you can see. So the inbound rules, the source is anywhere, as you can see. And the outbound rule, the destination is anywhere. So those are the security groups. So if you want to see more about the security group, you could just, let me go back there. If you want to see more, you could just click there, and then you will find more information related to the security group. The next thing that we need to do now, maybe if we wanted, we could just test again to make sure that our let's go to details. Let's connect remotely. Let us see. Using SSH. Let's clear the screen. Oh. And let us say SSH. The default username for Ubuntu is Ubuntu at the private IP. So just copy the private IP. Oh, something is missing. SSH. Oh, I forgot something. If you remember, we have our access key. The access key should also be there. So let's go back SSH-I, the access key. Oh, access key. Then the username for our server is Ubuntu at, paste the public IP. It's asking us if we want to proceed. We can say yes. Yes. We are now connected to our server, the server we just provisioned. Now, if you look at the IP address that is shown here, you can see it's the same as we are seeing here. So we have completed this project by reformatting our code using variable to create our, using variable to dynamically provision our server. So the next thing that we are going to do in the next video is to actually host a website on this site. Before we do that, or before we close up for today, let me go on exit from this server. The next thing that I want to do, you might want to do the same, is to Terraform destroy. I'm going to destroy everything that we just created. Might take a minute or so. As you can see, minus shows that it's removing something. So let us say yes. It's going to destroy, as you can see. Won't take long. As you can see, let us refresh to be sure it's terminated. As you can see, it's already terminated. And that's it for today. Thank you for watching. And if this video has been helpful, I would appreciate if you like, subscribe, and add some comment. I want to know what you think. Bye.